Good afternoon, everyone. Just going to give a second or a couple seconds before we get things started. All right. Good afternoon again, and thank you so much for joining today's Lunch and Learn. My name is Sydney Konahia with International Franchise Association, and we have a great 30 minutes lined up for you all today. Before we get started, I just wanted to let everyone know that today's webinar will be recorded, and a link to the recording and the slide deck will be sent out to everyone post-webinar. Today's topic is the reputation dividend and why reviews and listings deliver the highest ROI in the age of AI search, and it's brought to us by Consumer Fusion. Here to provide today's discussion are Zan Gulish, Vice President of Business Development, and Dan Claps, CEO of Voda Cleaning and Restoration. Thank you, Zan and Dan, for joining us, and Consumer Fusion for sponsoring today's Lunch and Learn. I'll now turn things over to our speakers to get us started.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sydney. I appreciate the kind introduction. As Sydney mentioned, the topic that we are going to be covering today is called the reputation dividend. We're going to largely focus on why reviews and listings really matter right now in the age of AI search and how they're really providing the highest ROI for franchise brands, both nationally and locally. So as Cindy mentioned, I'm with Consumer Fusion. My name is Zan Gulish. I'm the Vice President of Business Development here. Just so you guys understand, Consumer Fusion now has been around for 10 plus years. We focus on three main things in the franchising vertical. We focus on social media, so helping franchise brands post at scale across all their locations, whether that's locally or nationally. We help with local listings, so making sure that you're listed on all the correct sites that AI summaries, the AI search and overviews are looking at. And then last but not least, where you do reputation management. So anything from generating reviews, responding to reviews, monitoring your locations, addressing negative content. So that's kind of what we do here at Consumer Fusion. I've been personally with the company since for 8 years now. So it was 8 years as of March. So 8 years and some change. But I focus strictly on our franchising vertical. I've probably seen many of you at different franchising events. So we're really all in this franchising space, and myself specifically. Today's session and what we're going to cover. So we're going to cover where local marketing spend stands in 2026. Everyone has probably noticed that leads have gotten more expensive. You're probably not going to be alone on this. So we have a whole online reputation report that we can send out at the end of this. So that's what we're going to go through is findings from that 2026 online reputation report. We look at business across the last 10 years, over 200,000 businesses. So this is going to be what we're seeing today and how those trends are going. We're going to talk about how AI systems read reviews and listings. And then we're actually going to hear from Dan himself. So he's, as Cindy mentioned, the CEO of Voda Cleaning and Restoration. So success that they found in their system, what's working, what's not. And then we'll actually get into a live Q&A with Dan and then even save time for everyone here as well to get some questions in as well. A couple quick updates that I do want to hit on before we actually get into the 2026 reputation report is Google is now tracking all of your socials. What this means is your Google business profile is now going to host any sort of social media you're putting on there on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. So this will be really big for franchise systems that used to just try to do a corporate roll-up with social. What I mean by that is if you're a franchise brand that has just one corporate Facebook, one Instagram, you cannot go ahead and have one Instagram and have it scale to all 100 locations of your franchise system. So it's going to be really important now that you're creating individual socials for every one of your franchisees, because what you're posting there is going to go to your Google business profile, which will help gain traction in those local zip codes. And then the second big announcement that I wanted to address here is OpenAI and Yelp have officially partnered up. So they announced it here just over the last couple of weeks that now ChatGPT is going to be using your Yelp listing. That is what's going to be showing up there whenever they're showing reviews or reading reviews. That's going to be tier 1 for OpenAI. So definitely some big changes there. I know maybe not everyone's happy to hear that they're pulling in those Yelp reviews, but they've officially partnered and going to be something that we address. I also have a quick 1-minute video here that I'm going to share that kind of just sets the state of the market before we get into everything.
I don't know if the audio is playing.
You
Who
hear
left
that,
it
Dan?
to chance. Reputation is
Can you
Try
hear
it
it
now.
now? Yeah.
Sorry
becoming the
about that, everyone.
infrastructure
One more time. It's only a minute, so here we go.
of marketing. Underneath search, underneath ads, underneath discovery, one layer that decides whether the machines understand you, trust you, and put you in the answer. So I'm restructuring around one goal, building a single, coherent, verifiable reputation system. One, content that establishes what we've believed. Two, a website that says exactly who we are. Three, real names attached to real expertise. Four, case studies that document what we've done. Five, reviews that prove the experience. Six, original research that gives other people a reason to cite us. Because, remember, third-party citations were one signal that scored high on every AI platform we tested. I'm not betting on a platform. Platforms change. I'm not betting on content format. Formats die. I'm betting that when a machine looks at everything ever published about your business and writes its 4-sentence verdict, the companies who engineered that verdict will beat the companies who left it to chance.
Okay. So I think that video does a really good job of summarizing what we're going to be talking about today is how do we set ourselves up for success as things change, whether that's zero-click search, whether that's someone going to our website, whether that's someone going to a Grok, a Chat GPT, a Gemini. So I think it'll be really useful before we get into how to actually win in this new age to kind of say, how the heck did we get here, right? So much changes in AI. It feels like you need to be watching the news every single day, almost every single hour, right, to know what's going on. So I figured it'd be good to have a really quick run through of our timeline. So believe it or not, the first time that AI actually showed up was now almost 4 years ago in November of 2022 is when Chat GPT was released to the public. This is the first time that I personally ever heard of any zero-click behavior and that zero-click kind of search really began. So just 4 months later, March of 2023, AI summaries appear. This was largely due to Google realizing that more and more of their search empire was going towards ChatGPT, going towards Claude and these other ones. So this is where we really start to see click-through rates fall. It was just four months after the original launch of AI that we're seeing 15 to 30% of click-through rates fall. Over a year later, so about February of 2024, after the release of ChatGPT, Gemini went much deeper into search. So they started to do that AI summary and really favor trusted authority over backlinks. So this is kind of when we noticed that all of a sudden Reddit and some of these other ancillary sites became really important because all of these AI agents now had access to these open forum sites. Over the last 2 years, 2024, 2025, we've noticed measurable declines in click-through rates, right? We're seeing less website traffic. So, some people may be seeing that their website traffic is down 20, 40%. So this brings us to today is it's really changed. People go in and ask AI first, and then they'll verify in reviews and maps and then visit the site last, right? So we're going to look at a live example here in just a little bit of what I mean by this. But we'll go through that here after we hit on some of these numbers. So everyone here has probably experienced this. This isn't going to be unique to your system or vertical, but every marketing dollar is becoming under more scrutiny. We're noticing that cost per lead is up anywhere from 8 to 25% as far as the actual cost per lead. This could be very vertical specific. Some might be noticing a higher cost. Some might be noticing a little bit less, but these are the averages that we're seeing when evaluating across many different verticals. What's even worse news is they're expecting that the cost per lead, that price is going to continue to increase. Now, what is good news is ChatGPT's announced and some of these other platforms about doing ads on their platforms as well. So we're not just going to be reliant on Google pay-per-click and meta ads, right? We can start to explore some other outlets. So hopefully that will help some of those cost increases and give us other avenues to explore. But overall, we are seeing that there's that organic click-through is down 61% when AI overview appears. So people, what that's telling us is they're trusting the AI overview response and they're just going in and choosing a business based on what these systems are telling them. So, things have really changed, right? We used to focus on how do we be in the 10 blue links? How do we show up really well with website SEO? Recently now, maps and reviews have become more important, being listed on all the correct sites, driving reviews. And now, right, we're all setting up for generated answers, that answer engine optimization. When a customer asks a question, we want to have very specific content speaking to that, so that way that they get chosen. So let me share my entire window this time. All right. So really quick, I did say that we were going to do a live example. I just wanted to show you guys here. I went in and did a different search. I went and did a different search across 3 or 4 different platforms. This was a real example that happened to me just last week. My muffler broke on my car, so I was going in to look for a trusted mechanic. I don't know anything about fixing a car outside of changing a tire mainly. So I just went in, find the best mechanic near me that can replace a muffler in Carlsbad. You're going to notice here on ChatGPT this little Yelp symbol. So this is what I was referencing when ChatGPT and Yelp partnered. Anyone that's going to ChatGPT now for search, the first thing that's going to show up is your Yelp listing. Okay. Now you're going to notice this too. They come in, they essentially do their version of an AI overview telling me what companies to pick. So Alliance Muffler, WTB Muffler, and so on. But when I went and did this across, Claude as well, you're going to notice they're pulling in the Google business score. Okay. So each one of these sites is going to be pulling in different directory sites that they're looking at. And the same is true here. When I go to the Google AI mode and type in, find the best mechanic near me, right? They give me the same thing. So they're pulling in their Google site, where if I just go to the actual Google site, right, this is what the Google 3-pack looks like. So almost every single site is showing something a little bit different in how that search is showing up. So, right, what we need to be thinking as thinking of as franchise systems is how do we show up, whether someone's going to Claude, going to ChatGPT, or that Google 3-pack. Essentially what I'm telling you guys, all of it's important, right? So this is how I'm personally doing my search. I go in, ask what AI, or I go in and ask AI some of the best in the area. Then I'll go and validate on the Google business profile, right? See what those reviews look like, see what's showing up. I imagine this is what a lot of your customers are doing too. This is just for my experience, how I search. I don't know if that's similar for you guys or not. Now, the reason I bring all of this up too, and how that search is done, is because reviews, ratings, and listings are one of the best marketing assets that can compound for you. So I always say that paid will reset at the first of every month as far as what your paid advertising is. But the reviews you earned yesterday, last week, last quarter, these are going to continue to work for you here, for the coming foreseeable future. So, all right, we're going to go through the revenue impact of review management here on this 2026 report. I'm going to talk to you about volume, recency, and rating thresholds, what differences these can make for your actual revenue. The listings in the map pack, what the customer actions show us as far as click-through rates and how you're being found, response rate to these reviews, why it matters, and then also the risk of negative reviews or negative outcomes coming in and how they affect you on these platforms. So what active review management is actually worth? We know that businesses that come in and respond to their reviews, they're going to see 35% more revenue than businesses that don't. So what I tell every franchise system, you need to be responding from your reviews top down. You cannot just go into a franchisee, say, hey, you're going to be responsible for responding to your reviews. They're busy owning, operating a business. This is something that's really easy to automate. At least automate your 4- and 5-star reviews, so every single one of these are getting responded to. Ideally, this is getting done in under 24 hours. So volume and growth will move together, okay? So we know that businesses that carry a higher average rating in their vertical, 82% of those businesses will see higher annual revenue. So what I mean by that is, let's say the average rating in your vertical is 4.4 stars. For every point that you're above that, you're going to see higher revenue than your competitors. And what's also going to be tied to this is review count. So businesses that keep asking for reviews, they keep growing. So if you have more review volume than your competitors, we're also going to see 54% more revenue coming out of those businesses. And this is true for a lot of our franchise systems that we work with. It's not rocket science, right? The higher the reviews, the higher rating, they're driving more of the revenue than those lower review volume systems, or those lower review volume locations. a single star. Okay. So this is talking more on the negative side. So we know that every drop in star rating can result in less than 5 to 10% of revenue. So if let's say you go from a 4.5 to a 3.9, we can basically attribute that you're going to have a 10% revenue drop for that. What's even more frustrating is every negative you get in, you're going to need a lot of positive reviews to offset that. Depending on your review volume, if you're around 100 reviews, one negative review, you can need 30 plus different positive reviews to come in. For the last thing I'll mention here is every 0.1 star rating increase that you get, your conversion goes up about 25%. But this does go both ways, right? So if you're going from a 4.3 to a 4.4, or maybe you drop from a 4.0 to 3.9, it's going to affect what your conversion rate looks like and how often customers are calling you. The next piece I'm going to talk to you about is listings, why these are so important. So your listing sites are going to be about 40 plus different sites that you need to be listed on. Anytime you go in and do an AI search, all those little bubbles that pop up along the bottom, those are the listing sites that you need to be relevant and that you need to be on. Reason being is you're going to get 126% more website traffic if you're in those top 3 locations. How do we get in those summaries? How do we get in those Google 3-packs? You're going to get more customer actions. So this is going to look at your calls, your directions, your clicks, your websites, and then that local 3-pack. You're going to get much more traffic being in that local 3-pack or that AI summary than if you're not. So this is why all of us right now, we're jockeying for position. How do we get in there? The last piece here is the responses. They're going to compound. So 88% of consumers say they would use a business that responds to all of their reviews. What we found is businesses are taking 1 to 2 days to respond to reviews. I highly encourage you, if you can get responses out in under 24 hours, that's going to set you up for the most success. You're going to be, businesses are going to be more likely, or customers, excuse me, are going to be more likely to visit your business if you respond to both positive and negative reviews. And the last piece I would say is all of you should be striving for your systems to be at least 4.5 stars or above. This is just for me, once again, personally, as a consumer. Anytime I go and look up something like a restaurant or anything like that, if they're 4.5 stars or above, I'm not going to go in and compare them versus a bunch of their competition, especially if the review volume is high. Now, once again, this will be vertical specific. If you're in child services, right, being close as you can to a 5 star is going to be really important. So this is where it comes down to knowing your vertical and kind of where you stand. So to sum this up, we consider your reputation and listings a compounding asset. Every review that you earn is going to stay in your profile and keep converting. All of your reviews are going to become data points that ChatGPT, that Grok, that Gemini look at whenever a customer is asking a question or deciding on this. What this will also result in is declining acquisition cost. You're not going to have to pay for every single person that comes through your front door, whether they click on a lead of yours or they click on an ad. So how do we kind of get that cost coming down to become more organic? And then last but not least, this will give you a durable advantage or a little bit of a moat. You can have a competitor come in that can outbid you for keywords, but they can't go in and outbid 4 years of reviews, having proper listings and a good footprint across the platform. So overall, just know that a majority of what AI and what this Google 3-pack is going to be looking at is going to be your overall review authority in your map ecosystem. So just more so speaking to the listings itself. So this is going to make up over 50% of what these systems are analyzing. So reviews and listings are becoming more important than ever. Everything else there will be like a little bit more of your social, your site content, citations, brand mentions. Just know though, more than half the recommendation score sits in signals that you already own and manage for your franchisees. So long story short, this is what brands are doing that win. They're asking every customer to leave a review. So they're generating reviews. They're responding to every review, ideally within 24 hours. They're protecting their reputation, going in and addressing illegitimate reviews. They're distributing this. So they're getting their listings, they're getting listed on all the sites that are relevant to these sites. And then they're listening. They're reading the sentiment across all locations and addressing anything positive, negative that comes in. So we're going to shift now. I know I've been talking at you guys a lot. This is where we're going to start to tie in Dan here. Dan Claps, he is the CEO of Voda Cleaning and Restoration. I don't know if any of you follow Dan, but he's posts a lot on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and you're going to know Dan is a true practitioner here. here. He's head down in the business every day and franchising, working to grow Voda Cleaning and Restoration. So I'll let him chime in here. He's going to go through about 3 or 4 slides, and then we're going to get into a Q&A and asking him about what works. So I'll let him give a quick rundown here on Voda. And yeah, go ahead and take it away, Dan, and give us some background on what you guys are doing.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Zan, for inviting me, and of course IFA for having me as well, and all of you that are attending. Thanks for some time. Yeah, Dan Clapp, CEO of Voda, been in franchising since 2014 and been operating Voda since 2023, early 2023. We have about 117 franchise partners and about 300 territories, and we've used Consumer Fusion from the beginning. They've been a great partner to us, and whether you use their platform or just review management in general, I think is an extremely important part of business today, right? Google is your storefront now, like in the past, and responding to reviews and really putting a plan together, not only to have a tool like Consumer Fusion to do review management, but also teaching and enabling your franchise partners to understand the importance of what they need to do to make sure that the reviews are coming back as positive as possible, and the ones that are negative get dealt with. All is a flywheel to make your SEO and lead gen overall and marketing for your franchisees much stronger. You can't really be successful with the marketing online without also having success with the review management. I'm going to go to the next slide here. So, applicable to our business, I think this is relevant really to any local business, but in our business, a restoration supplier or vendor for a homeowner is decided very quickly, right? People are not shopping around deciding. They're going to go to Google. They're going to go to the first companies they see that have good reviews and a lot of reviews, and they're going to call. And more likely than not, if the person that answers is nice and respectable and such, they're going to usually go with the service. And so for us, all of the work starts on the front end of getting that call in the first place. And, because our job is urgent, right? If there's water on the floor right now, nobody's researching a ton. They want to get it solved. It's unplanned. They didn't think about it for weeks. Let's go get a kitchen remodel. They just all of a sudden have this interruption, and then they decide very quickly. And so ensuring that the reviews are as high as they can be is so important. Go to the next slide. So, for example, at Voda, the credit is due to the franchise partners for the action that they're taking every day, but also in the training and systems that we've established, putting review management and overall collection of reviews is such a priority in the business. And so within our business, again, since the beginning, we've used Consumer Fusion. We're grateful to have a 5-star review across the system. We have about 88,000 profile reviews on Google, 17,000 customer actions, 1,400 review responses, and 1,500 new reviews. This is all just in Q2 of this year. And we're fortunate to have, we're approaching 20,000. I think we're somewhere around 15,000 5-star reviews across the system to date. But a lot of that has to do with the ability to make sure that the reviews that are good are responded to, and the reviews that are not so good, whether it's a legitimate reason or a illegitimate reason, like a disgruntled employee or spam, is dealt with in a really timely fashion. So, for example, just in the quarter, 239 legitimate reviews were removed. That 5-star can turn to a 4 very quickly if those 1-star fake ones were to bring the average down. So it's so important not only that we get 5-star reviews, but that we remove the ones that are not legitimate and deal with the ones that actually need to be solved.
Cool. And Dan, yeah, I had some questions for you here too, as we're talking about this. So you're talking about now how you guys are across, over 120 franchisees, 250 plus locations. How is it something that you guys talk about day one? As soon as someone comes in and maybe you're at your training day or anything like that, are you guys already talking to them about reputation, or how do you try to make this like, hey, this is an initiative what we're doing at the local level, not just another corporate marketing initiative? So how do you kind of start that off right off the front foot with your franchisees when they come in day one?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's part of even our discovery process. And then when they become a franchise partner, it's very early on is introduced. We actually have a big circle that kind of it demonstrates reviews being the kind of the flywheel or the center of a flywheel that's going to spin faster and faster. And just like anything else in franchising, we make it very clear on how this affects their business and helps their business, and then also how it affects the overall brand. A lot of times, what we're communicating is our SEO and our overall digital marketing is only as good as this is, right? So, as a partnership, it's their job to go out there and get great reviews, do a great service, use the platform to the fullest, and then it's our job to use that to then do better SEO marketing, etc. And what's interesting to me is the reviews. I'll just throw this in there because I think it's just amazing that you guys do this. Late last year, we decided to really start implementing NPS, and we're using that for customer feedback as well, Net Promoter Score, which is interesting because now not only are we getting the information of the 5-star reviews, but we're also getting opportunities where maybe someone was not unhappy that they left a 2-star review, but also gave us an opportunity where we could improve, or gave us, in our case, we have an 82 NPS score, but it all has to do with from the foundation of training franchise partners on the importance up until when we finally get that NPS survey.
Great. And then I know you guys are obviously still, relatively new brand. You've had a lot of success and everything, but have you already started to notice that these reviews have started to compound? So it makes it easier for a new franchisee that's opening a brand new territory, brand new location, that all of a sudden that some of your national brand has started to compound and make it easier to rank in your markets, where you see a new location, all of a sudden their Google business profile views are up compared to, last year at this time with a new location. So curious how you've seen it start to compound.
The core of the business is those reviews. It's a great question. It's like what I'm saying, a flywheel spinning faster and faster. National accounts, we go to national account opportunities, we're able to show that 5-star rating in these reviews. When we have a candidate looking, I remember when I was acquiring Voda, one of the most important things I did was look at all the reviews of the flagship business. And so candidates are doing it, so it's increased franchise development as well. And then, of course, having that standard to hold against within our system. If we have a franchise partner that's below the 5-star, we're able to benchmark, look, this is where most people are, this is where you are, and we need to work on that with the data. So, most franchisors are driving revenue and average ticket and gross profit margin, but for us, this is actually one of the most important indicators. It's a leading indicator to the other lagging financial indicators.
And then just curious too, I'm curious from your guys' end, when I was talking in the beginning about cost per leads, website views, and all of that, have you guys noticed just from a paid perspective for any of your paid advertising, has that cost gone up for you guys here over the last year or two? Or are you exploring new avenues now because of that? Just that might be a better CMO question, but I'm curious, what you've just found too from a paid perspective when it comes to generating leads.
Yeah, great question. As an aggregate, I think everyone's dealing with that, right? In home services or really any mobile service or anything that's online, I think costs have gone up unless you're an exception. What I would say, that's on an aggregate level. On a different level, there is some level of SEO and lead generation working better because of the compounding effects of. So in other words, if everyone's leads cost across our industry has risen, but now we have these reviews, we're able to at least be, the winner of that higher price point. And so to me, what I always tell our franchise system is, our franchise owners are spending, typically $5,000 a month or 5% of their revenue across 100, almost 20 franchise owners. Compound that across making sure we get reviews, making sure we review management. Voda is an underdog in a very large space with ServPro and large companies, but that flywheel, the faster it spins, it's like a snowball, right? You can catch up to the larger companies, and so absolutely, it's a compounding effect that we're starting to see the benefit, and we'll see more and more as the years go by.
Great, man. No, I appreciate the transparency and the insight. I know that we are coming up to time here. It's about 10:29 here Pacific time. So we just have another minute. I did want to give some time for the audience to ask maybe any questions that they have for myself or even for Dan. Want to be respectful of everyone's time. So feel free to shoot any questions into the chat here if anyone has anything. If not, I know we can wrap everything up here as we're coming to time. So we can give it another 30 seconds or a minute. And thanks for the kind words, people that are saying that it was great. So thank you. And then, yeah, just as a reminder too, Sydney mentioned at the beginning, but this will be sent out to in a recording. So if anyone has any questions too, I guess I should do this last piece. Feel free to contact me directly. So if you want the full online reputation report that gets into all the different stats, details, we have all of our sources in there. So we have about 20 different sources we utilize for this online reputation report. Like I said, it covers the best 10 years, over 200,000 businesses. So there's a lot of good information in there. So feel free to contact me directly. My email is listed here at the bottom, and we can send you guys that formal reputation report too. So yeah, thanks again, everyone, for the time. I don't know if you wanted to say anything else, Sydney, before we close out.
Yeah, no, perfect. Thank you guys again. Thank you, Zan and Dan, for your time. This was great. Zan, you always do a good job of covering everything you have to do in 30 minutes. But yeah, the recording and slide deck will be sent around later. But yeah, if you do have any questions, you can feel free to just respond to the email that I'm going to send, and I'm happy to pass those questions along to Zan if you missed his email. But yeah, thank you so much again, and thank you to Consumer Fusion for sponsoring today's webinar. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye.